Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host Bennett Shear. Today we have got another singer that you didn't see from season 19 of American Idol. Please welcome Malachi Mills.
Thanks for having me on, Bennett.
Thank you for coming, man. I really appreciate it. And I know it's been a minute since you were on American Idol, but I'm sure that you've got a lot of memories and stories to share. So without further ado, I would love if you could kind of give us the introduction that we never got to see from you on the show.
Yeah, right. So my name is Malachi Mills. I'm a singer-songwriter from North Georgia, Gainesville, Georgia. I've been doing music now professionally for a little over 5 years, um, and just working hard with music, just trying to make the music dream happen.
When did that dream first start for you? I mean, obviously, I'm sure it had to have come about way before American Idol came into the picture. How old were you, do you think, when you really developed a passion for music?
I started singing music whenever I was in church, but I always I always just loved the natural feeling that I got whenever I sang. And I didn't really do it in front of people until I was probably about 15 or 16. That's when I first sang in front of people, and that was at church. And yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Very cool. So do you think, I mean, is it mainly gospel music or outside of that, country, secular? What's your genre, do you think, if you had to pick one?
Man, it's actually like a really interesting mixture of all the ones you just said. So I grew up in here in Georgia, so I'm in the South. So I have a ton of like country music that's just like inherently there. It's country music's all around me. And so I actually didn't like all the way, pretty much like all the way through high school. Was like I never really considered myself like a country music fan. But I grew up listening to a lot of gospel, like Southern gospel music, and my parents, like, they were pretty restricted on like what I listened to. They weren't like really strict about it, but it was pretty much just like Christian music, like contemporary Christian music, and like Southern gospel style music. But they let me listen to like the Temptations, and like my mom likes Percy Sledge and like the Beach Boys and some like older soul music. So I think that developed like a little bit of more of a soulful influence for me. And so what I like to say is that I sit somewhere in the Southern soul like spot.
As you went into American Idol, I want to hear about how that all came about. If you were approached by the show to be a part of it, or if you tried out yourself, how did that all go down?
It's actually got some layers to it. So I tried out first time I tried out a few times for American Idol. First time I ever did it was I play a lot of clubs like in North Georgia and stuff, just a lot of venues. I've been doing that professionally for 5 years, so pretty much 100 plus dates for the past 5 years. So I've been playing a lot live. And one of the club owners that I knew well, she was, I think, a scout or whatever you want to say for American Idol, and she had like a front of the line pass, which I'm sure you're familiar if you're interviewing a lot of American Idol contestants. It just gets you to the front of the line at like the big all call.
Hmm.
So you don't have to wait like all day at the first. Some people call it the cattle call, like the
Right.
big, like the big first line. That's the first time I ever did it. I can't remember when that was. Gosh, 2017 maybe, 16. But I went and did that, and then I got through the first round, and then they asked if the second round was in LA for the producers, and I went out there like on my own dime and everything to do it, and then I didn't make it past that round, but I kind of made a trip out of it, so it wasn't a total waste of time. But it was, it was an experience, and that was my first experience with American Idol. Then fast forward, dang, I tried out 3 times. I'm thinking about it. Fast forward, maybe a year or two later, I got one of the, producer emails that they do. They sometimes the producers or the casting agents reach out directly. I got directly called for that, and I went and did another producer audition in Atlanta, which was a lot more convenient than flying to LA. Um, Went out there, didn't make the cut that time. And then the third time, I was pretty like worn out at that point. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
but it was during quarantine, uh, and everything was online. All the auditions consisted of Zoom, and I was just, the hard worker in me was saying, like, if I don't do this, like, this opportunity is just I'm in my house, like, I'm available to do all the steps right here in my house, so I got to do it. So that was the third and last time that I've had an experience with American Idol, and it was a direct invitation through Zoom, and I went through the multiple stages of the Zoom interviews, and that's how I got on the show.
I gotta imagine, I mean, as much as it kind of got to a certain point where, obviously you made it to the live audition, so you were like, I guess, third time's the charm, but the fact that you were able to audition virtually probably made it a little bit more of something that you were willing to do again because you didn't actually have to leave your house or wherever you were doing the audition. It was just convenient to get to literally stay wherever you were, and not have to
Yeah,
go all the way out there to Atlanta or wherever.
yeah, and I think there was probably a little bit. I had a little more authenticity, I'm sure, come across because I didn't really care as much. I was being a little more carefree because I was just like, I've done this already so many times, like probably not gonna pan out. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, whatever, I'm still doing my thing. So I think that confidence and that energy, I'm sure, helped play a part in things.
So the fact that, third time really was the charm and you got to make it to the live auditions and see the judges, get on the set, see other contestants, what did it feel like to actually make it past the sort of initial producer rounds? It's like this is real now.
I felt a sense of achievement for sure. Because like I'd done it, the two times before and gone through like multiple stages of the process. And so I was surprised. Um, and once I mean, I guess that may have answered the full question. I was surprised, and I was surprised and excited to get to do the experience because at that point I was like everything that's when they started paying for everything and all that. I wasn't like just kind of spinning my wheels. I was actually able to engage in the experience.
I mean, had you ever done anything like this before, whether it was being on TV or just having auditioned for something where you were getting to be a part of a cast of some sort?
One time before I did, I don't know if you remember it or not, but it kind of had a brief stint. I think it was on Fox, but it was called The Four.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
hmm
wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I didn't get aired on that as well, but I did make it to the like the main whatever auditions, and that was all expenses paid. And there's in LA, and they like took us to the Sony studios and stuff and record. That's where all the everything happened. And so that was my only experience before this happened with American Idol. And, it's
Mhm.
kind of like a good way to get my feet wet a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm curious about that because I did watch that show, and I know that we're talking about Idol, but it was a very different show. I mean, you're performing in front of an audience, and it was very it was very different. I feel like sort of the tone of the show, it was very much about like kind of battling against other artists, and the judges I think were a lot harsher, and it was very sort of dramatic, if I'm correct. And so, I mean, would you agree that it was kind of different from what American Idol is?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I didn't really like advance too far into that, but it was my first experience with like other contestants who had made it through the initial, the preliminary like interviews and the auditions and stuff. And so it definitely had a different energy to it. It felt a little more novel.
Hmm.
Like American Idol, it's definitely a reality TV show, and they have, I'm sure like there's certain way that they want to persuade the season, each season. That's kind of like how I felt, but like that's normal. I feel like with any type of reality TV show, but with this one, I felt like it was a little more like novelty of like singers being like really competitive. I feel like they were pushing competitive spirit a lot for sure. Like I think that may have been why I wasn't a contender on that one, is because like I'm a competitive person and I'm there to win whenever I do stuff, but at the same time I'm not gonna like badmouth somebody or create drama on TV. That's just not who I am.
I think American Idol, they kind of don't try to do anything to make it gimmicky. They just want you to kind of show up and be yourself. I'm guessing that's what you experienced when you went on that show.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. I mean, I think they definitely want to create like a narrative for each contestant, whether it's like authentic or whether they kind of like impose it on you a little bit. But I would say for sure the most successful stories that are on that show are the ones that are authentic and they're not like trying to be someone they're not and everything.
The fact that you had a little bit of experience before, was it something that was kind of familiar to you, or did you feel like you were on a whole different kind of production when you got to American Idol?
Yeah, I mean it was higher end, like because I had made it further in that contest than I did in the four, and so it was everything was more curated and like they were like you know on their game and everything was like super rigid schedule and everything. And so it was great experience to be able to learn how to be in front of camera and like be around, producers and things like that.
Do you remember like meeting other contestants? And because I know they have you waiting around a long time, did you get to meeting and get to know some people?
I feel like I had a really like unique experience out of everybody on our season. Like my like the people I connected with most and like we hung out with most like from the time that I got off the show, which was the second week of Hollywood week, was Benson Boone, and Chase Beckham, actually, funny enough. And like both of them are like doing really great things now. Chase was one of the first people I met. Um, Him and his mom, we were like in one of the holding rooms together and we were like, we hung out like the extent of the whole time. And then another artist friend of mine who we've written together, she's actually like cut one of my songs that we've written together. Her name's Emmy Sunshine. She was there in that first holding room. Um, but I feel like I had a pretty interesting experience because like I got to like I feel like all the people that I was hanging out with were like the people who like were most successful on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I mean, yeah, that's wild. And Benson, he left the show, but he's gone on to do really big things. So that must be wild to watch him kind of go on, without necessarily the Idol brand, but doing his own thing in the
Yeah.
industry. Well, so yeah, I mean, a lot of waiting around, and do you remember which day? Because I know it's like, probably like at least 4 or 5 days of filming. Do you remember which day you got to go and sing for the judges?
Oh yeah, the first time I sang for the judges, it was in Ojai, California. That's where I auditioned at, and I auditioned on day two. Yeah, I auditioned on day two, and I auditioned like kind of late afternoon. Like I think right before they started to get irritated. Because I think that does make a difference for sure. Because I think I may have got like their last little bit of grace that they had.
Did you hear about a lot of people getting no's after you, or?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And also in my audition, I did four. I auditioned with four songs.
In one, just for the judges alone, 4 songs?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was definitely kind of like the talk of the set. The next day and everything, everybody was like, "Oh, you're the guy that had to do four songs." Everybody was freaking out when they heard that because everybody was like questioning their whole life because they were like, "I got to come up with another song."
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
the way I see it is I know you're thinking, well, like if I have to do 4 songs, do they really like me? I think they like you because they clearly believe in you. If they want to keep trying to get stuff out of you, if they didn't think that you had the potential, they'd stop you after 1 or 2 and say no. But they wanted to keep kind of chipping. I mean, I can't wait to hear this story, but from what it sounds like, they weren't giving up on you. They wanted to see more and more of what you were capable of.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. I don't really know what the full reason was, but I don't really know how I felt whenever I left, but I kind of felt somewhere on the fence, like they were excited to see more for me, but I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it was interesting for them because it probably makes their job more interesting. Not to mention, you said that they were getting kind of tired and irritated. I know that they like to show, and they have aired this a lot, the moments where they're kind of like coaching contestants. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but they definitely like to kind of get the best out of people and say, well, you should try this or you should try that. So it kind of it makes them like feel good to be able to like to get stuff out of you, sort of, and to kind of put their skills to use. So I feel like maybe that's maybe what they got out of getting to work with you so much.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like they were trying to get me to like fight for it a little bit. Their reactions the whole time were just kind of like, yeah, and it's like they were wanting me to. It kind of felt like they were wanting me to like really assert myself, which I feel like I did assert myself, but I wasn't like, please, just one more song.
It's kind of ironic that you were on a show before called The Four, which is all about being very competitive, and then you go on to American Idol where you have to sing four songs, and they're also trying to get you to be more assertive, competitive, etc.
I don't know, man. It's funny how things work.
It really is. Well, so let's talk about when you first walk in that room. What's the vibe like? Are you nervous? Are you excited?
I was honestly, I was more anxious than anything. Like I don't consider myself necessarily an anxious person, like all the time, but I mean, I think every artist has waves of anxiety when it comes to being judged on their ability to sing or their their own originality. It's like you're being judged as a human almost. It's kind of weird, but um I felt I had anxious feelings whenever I walked in. I wasn't really nervous. I was honestly more like, let's just do this. Just a little bit, like not too much. I cannot remember the exact question they asked me like right off the top, but it was something to the effect of like why are you here today or something. And I said like I've watched this show since I was a kid, and I'm an artist who's I'm trying to find my break, and I'm just ready to bring y'all my best, and I'm just excited to play for y'all, and I'm excited to give it a shot because I really think I can do it.
I'm sure you didn't expect you were going to be singing four songs, but what was your first song?
It was "Adore You," Harry Styles. I kind of gave it like a bit of my. I mean, I would say it's a little. It took on a little. I would hope it like sounded more like me, but I
Hmm.
don't think it was too far off from like what you would expect from an acoustic version of Adore. I didn't think there would be many people who would do that song, and then they encourage you. They highly encourage you to pick contemporary songs.
So what was the feedback from that one?
Lionel Richie liked me. He liked me pretty much the whole time. Katy Perry was like, they were all just kind of like sitting there, like really like not much to say. Like at first, like just kind of like like I think cranking up the drama a little bit. Katy Perry was like, she was like fiddling with her papers or whatever, and then she was the one that took charge of pretty much the whole audition. Like she was talking the whole time. She just asked me to play another one pretty much directly after that, which then I went to play original song that I wrote called Sparrow. And I thought that she may enjoy that one because I wrote that song for my niece, and it's just kind of like a very empowering song for like female empowerment, things like that. And so I figured that she may like it because a lot of her songs are about that as well.
Yeah.
And it was, I just thought it'd be sweet since she just had a kid and stuff. And so anyway, I played that one, and Lionel Richie was like, "I really like your style and your vibe," and he was saying that like he would much rather work with somebody who has like a vibe than somebody who maybe has like some of these other like characteristics of an artist or something. Like he said he was much more interested in working with people who have a vibe, and so that was like kind of cool to hear him say that. Took that for what it was worth, and then Katy Perry was still kind of like, I don't know, and then Luke Bryan was like, yeah, it's a no for me.
Mm. But that's after only two songs, so we had two more to come.
Yeah, so they were like, Katy Perry said, sing one more song, or she said, sing another one, um, and then they would vote. I cannot think about the third song that I sang. I'm like sitting here trying to think so hard. It was literally 2 years ago.
You had to
Yeah.
have been in there for what, like 20 minutes at least?
Oh, it had to be 25, 30. Yeah. I mean, 25 probably. Yeah.
And that's what everybody on the set was probably thinking, like, what is going on in there? Because I know that, I mean, every audition is going to last in person longer than it airs on TV because they cut stuff. But still, I mean, I hear a lot of contestants say it's like 10, 15 minutes at most. So once you start getting close to half an hour, you've probably got the crew and other people that are waiting. Like, what is going on in that room?
Yeah, whenever I left the audition after, like, I mean, I know we're kind of getting ahead of the story here, but like the the crew, the whole like everybody was like, "What just happened?" Like they were freaking out there, and like I was pretty convinced. I was like, "Well, I just feel like I just created a big scene, and so that's got to get on TV."
Right.
you know but I can't remember, going back to it, I can't remember what the third song was. I really can't, but I do
Uh-huh.
remember the fourth song. So after the third song, maybe I'll remember in a second, but that's when they voted. Lionel Richie said yes. Luke Bryan said no officially, and then Katie was like, yeah, I just don't think it's time for you. Like, she gave me a no.
Hmm.
So I had two no's and one yes. And there was kind of like a bit of silence. And I was like, well, I really appreciate the opportunity. If there's anything else I can do to win you over, I'm here for it. Like I said, I was trying not to be like desperate, and I don't think I came across that way. Maybe that's why they decided not to air it. But she went on to like kind of give this an out. She kept calling me Young Stallion. Um, and yeah, I know. And so she like went into this whole metaphor of like what happens if the horse gets, like, the horse is in a horse race, and like hurts his foot halfway or something. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep running, I guess, finish the race, because she was like, I guess, calling me the horse. I don't know, but anyway, I whatever we said right there, whatever the back and forth was right there, convinced her to let me play another song for her. And I played "Reckless Love," um, which is a gospel song, and she changed her no to a yes
Wow.
after the fourth song.
Man, you must have been so cool under pressure, man. Like, cause again, to not be desperate in that situation, and the fact that you walked out of there like so calm, cool, and collected with the golden ticket, you would think that anybody else who had to sing 4 songs would have had to like beg for that kind of opportunity, and yet you just stood there like, yeah, I'm just chilling, whatever you guys need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like act like some kind of, you know coolest guy in the room or whatever. That's not how it was. I was nervous and everything like that. But I definitely had like a I think something that helped me through the whole process is that I felt really at peace with whatever the outcome was going to be,
Mm,
and I truly did. And I rest heavily, like all my like inner peace and my purpose in life, it comes from like my faith. And so I feel like I had a really balanced and really good center at that point of the competition. And I just felt really at peace about like whatever was going to happen was going to happen, and I'm going to do my best, and everything else from that point on is out of my hands. It's kind of like in fate's hands. um that's really what I was feeling. And like, honestly, whenever she changed her no to a yes, like, I kind of had to, like, I was excited, I was surprised, but then again, I was so, like, kind of relaxed in the situation that I almost had to be like, hey, like, you're on TV and you just like got 3 yeses, like, or 2 yeses, like, get excited,
yeah.
because I didn't know how to act in the moment. It was just crazy. Like, and that's probably why I didn't get aired. I mean, if I were to take a guess, I didn't like fall to my knees and cry or something.
Yeah.
But not dragging on anybody who does, because that's a life changing experience for a lot of people. And frankly, it helped me a lot in my music career as well. Opened up a lot of doors. Um, but like in that moment, that's just not the reaction that I had. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a sociopath or something. But
I think we're all just wired differently, I mean,
yeah,
not to mention all the lights and cameras too, which, for me, like, I know and I think a lot of people, would either fall under the pressure or would be overwhelmed by everything. And I think that what's interesting about Idol is it really is diverse pool in terms of not just people coming from different places, but as human beings, everybody behaves differently. People react differently to different situations. You see people cry. You see people like I interviewed somebody uh, who passed out from the stress in the audition room. You never
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and he was okay. He kind of made light of it, but still, you never know. And obviously, with the cameras around, they're always going to look for a way to make it entertaining for television. But for the person experiencing that, you never know what they're feeling inside. Everybody has a
yeah,
different reaction to this high pressure situation.
yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. I think the thing that got to me the most is that since it was during quarantine, I don't know how many people you've talked to on this season who were in like the quarantine season or whatever. Everybody was still super high alert on COVID and everything. But like there was like you couldn't like you had to stay like pre-hydrated. Like you couldn't drink water, you couldn't drink or eat anything outside of the designated eating or drinking stations.
Mm,
And whenever you were on deck to go into the audition, there was no like eating or drinking stations. And so like, walking into like one of the most high pressure auditions I've ever been in, and I like can't even get like a little sip of water.
yeah.
So like that was probably the most like stressful thing to me is I'm from Georgia. It's like a swamp down here. And so I'm used to the humidity. And now I'm in Colorado in like this valley, and it's super dry in the air, and like I'm usually not somebody that like has got to have like a spoon of honey and a scarf around their neck and like all that stuff, like that's not usually me. But I felt like that in that moment because I was like, man, if I just had a swig of water right now, I'd be so much more comfortable. Like I try not to be high maintenance when it comes to stuff like that. And because I know everybody's doing the best they can. And if I'm not getting exactly what I want, then it's probably not personal, It's like so I mean that's kind of like a rabbit trail, but just talking about like elements that contributed to maybe that anxiety whenever I was walking in was like, like this, like I'm feeling super dry walking into here. Like I haven't had any water. Like it's the air's dry up here.
As you went to Hollywood Week, it's another level. I mean, to make it this far really is something because you're talking about probably three times the amount of people, and of course, the fact that it was the quarantine season. There's all kinds of different protocols going on, but what do you remember at first about getting there? I mean, I'm sure you got to reconnect with some people. You probably also met new people. What was the beginning of that experience like?
It was cool. I mean, I definitely met some new people. Oddly enough, the people that I met in my initial audition week in my first few days, actually we ended up like being pretty like close throughout Hollywood week. Like our rooms, like everything was pretty close. Like
Hmm.
we just ended up being with each other. So it was like I met a few new people in Hollywood week, but it was funny because like most of the people I stayed connected with through the whole time. Um, so that was cool. But I met some really great people for sure. People I'm still in touch with. Timothy Brown. He got eliminated after the initial audition, but his audition story is crazy. He's an excellent singer, excellent songwriter. I've stayed in touch with him. Uh, like we've written songs together. He actually cut one of my songs that I wrote with him called "Cut Me Loose." It was actually about our experience on American Idol.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's pretty subtle. Like you would probably relate it closer to a relationship.
Hmm.
Like we weren't trying to be like so explicit. Like this is our bad American Idol experience song. Like it's
Right.
it's not really about that. It's not really about that. But you should go check it out. It's called "Cut Me Loose." The artist is Timothy Brown. But yeah, he's a great person that I met, and that's kind of a sidebar. But Hollywood Week was great.
That's good. No, I mean it's great to connect with so many people, and I think that the fact that not only were you meeting people, but you got to watch other people perform, that's another level of a great opportunity because the genre challenge, which went on for, if I'm correct, 2 days. It's a long process watching everybody perform. It's like a free concert. You really get exposed to so much music from so many different kinds of artists.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's portrayed a little bit differently, like on the show. Like I got to watch about 10 performances. I can't remember how many people exactly got to Hollywood Week, but out of all those people, I really only got to see like 10 of them, just because of the schedule that they have you on. But it was really cool going through and seeing that, and you know, just seeing how it all played out.
Were you off doing like interview filming or other things? How come you didn't get to see most of the performances?
It was a lot of it was just holding spaces.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm sure if like if anyone's watching this that's done, any TV work, or if you've done any TV work, like it's just like hurry up and wait, like holding like in a holding space. So we'll get you for this interview, and then you're 3 hours later, you're still just like hanging out.
Right.
So so that was a big thing. Was that, yeah, pretty much just interviews and holding spaces, and then
Hmm.
whenever I did have like a free moment to go watch, it was like pretty close to my appointment that I had to go be on deck for my group to like make its way to the stage.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I know in season 20, the most recent season, they actually had most of the contestants in the audience for a good bulk of the 2 days, and then they would just kind of pull people out for interviews. I don't know if maybe they did things differently. I don't know if COVID was a factor or something, but it's just interesting
I
hearing
think
that
it
because
was.
yeah,
I think it was more. It had to have something to do with it, because that would make sense. They kind of had to spread out more, in between everything. That would make sense for sure.
and I know we talked in the very beginning of this conversation about sort of your fusion of influences musically. So having to pick one genre, which line did you choose?
I actually ended up picking the soul genre, and like kind of preface that I was like, as I was doing the interviews, as I was talking to the judges, like I told them that, like this is my take on Southern soul, and looking back on it, I probably just should have like picked the country or something, just because there was such a spectrum in the soul uh like genre of, there's just such a spectrum in that genre, and so if I feel like I would have stood out a little more if I would have picked the country genre, because I can very easily fit into that country sound, but I was just trying to be a little more niche, I guess, and it kind of backfired on me.
That's interesting because sometimes standing out is a good thing, and I guess other times it's a risk.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I think I just don't think I stood out as much as I thought I was going to in the soul. Like I think I may have actually stood out more in the country.
Okay.
Um, because there was a lot of most of the country acts were more pop country or like really twangy,
Hmm.
and I think I sit somewhere more in the like Muscle Shoals kind of like southern, almost I wouldn't say southern rock, but like that bluesy country, more soulful country. Like I love Billy Currington, I love Travis Tritt, um, just some artists off the top of my head that have like that similar like blues soul swag to their country singing, like that stuff that I try to emulate.
Sure. What song did you end up singing for the performance?
I actually sang a song that Lionel Richie wrote for the band Alabama.
Hmm.
um I'm not sure if you're familiar with the band Alabama. I sang the song that I sang was Why Lady Why. That was one that Lionel Richie wrote. Like, I was honestly kind of surprised I didn't make it through the first round, because it was a very pleasant reaction. Like, it's a very encouraging crowd there. All the artists are cheering for the artists. Like, there's, like you keep it high, high energy and stuff. I definitely feel like I got a great like response from the crowd, along with like I, I like, I think I surprised the judges. Like, I feel like I exceeded expectations from where I left it off with them in uh, my initial audition, um, because they were impressed with the song choice, like judging by their reaction. And then afterwards, I saw them all kind of like looking at each other and like kind of in surprise. Like it didn't seem like they were like, "All right, next."
Did you catch like any reaction from Lionel upon hearing you singing one of his songs?
He kind of gave like it really does turn into such a blur, but from what I remember, it was kind of like one of those like kind of like reassuring nods, that
Yeah.
was kind of like, kind of like surprised, like interested in the song choice, like, like, wow, like I think he was kind of impressed in the nuance that I dove to, and it really wasn't because I wasn't trying to like pick a Lionel Richie song. I really wasn't. I just like was going through some songs that I didn't think would be chosen, stuff that would stand out, and then I landed on that one. I was like, shoot, Lionel Richie wrote this. Lionel Richie's written so many songs, and like if you were to ask any country fan or any Alabama fan, they probably wouldn't even know that Lionel Richie wrote that song.
Right.
This like you know pop, like soul artist, the wrote this country song.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty creative choice, but um, yeah, sometimes I'll play that when I'm out and stuff, and I'll be like, and that's the song I got voted off American Idol with.
At least you went out doing something that was a pretty unique song choice, something that made sense to you. And I know that even though you felt like you could have done better in a different line, it definitely was something that felt authentic to you. And we talked about the importance of being authentic. So in a way, I guess it kind of felt like the right decision, despite maybe not being in the right line. You probably were happy with your song choice.
Oh yeah, man. I can't tell you enough how comfortable and how at peace I was. Like stepping on stage was extremely nerve wracking. It was extremely angst filled, but like afterwards, I was just like, man, like I prepared for that. I felt good about how I did on it, and it's out of my hands now, and everything else was just I was chilling after that.
Chilling, and then once you and the rest of your line had to go on stage, it got nerve-wracking again because you got to wait for those results, and they drag it out, and they step forward, step back, they
Oh
make you
yeah.
wait 30 seconds. Do you remember anybody that you were in line with in the soul line?
Yeah, I was in line with Rhonda. You don't know why I can't think of her last name. Terrible
Felt I
friend.
think it's Felton. I remember her.
Yeah, yeah, Rhonda Felton. And then which she's a great personality too. She'd be a great
Yeah.
one to have on the show. And she's awesome singer. Rhonda Felton and I'm so bad. I can't think of her name, but she's incredible too. Uh wait, Elise. I can't think of it, but incredible. Yeah, my experience there though was in that line. Whenever we were standing in that line, man, I had so many I feel like I had so many unique experiences on the show. uh, we came out, stepped out, and then I was the last name. Well, they were calling people forward and backwards, right? Or they were just saying step up, but they would call your name, and then they would say you can stay where you're at or you can step up. And I was the last person to get called, and Lionel Richie mispronounced my name like everybody does, and didn't say step up or move back. And in the middle of all that, Luke Bryan corrected him on my name. I can't even remember what he called me. He said like Malachi or I can't remember what he said. I mean, I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Everybody pronounces my name different every time. But Luke Bryan corrected him, and in the middle of all that shuffle, they like didn't really make it clear if I was going home or if I was staying. And so, like, we were standing there, and honestly at the moment I was kind of like, "Oh, cool, I think I'm going through." And they were like, "Oh, no, no, no! Like, you step forward, like you're going home."
Oh, man. That's a buzzkill.
I know, I know. I wasn't internally. I was like kind of celebrating a little bit, but then I was kind of just like, "What is happening?" But they ended up calling me forward, and then then we walked out.
I know you talked about being at peace even in the audition. Is that how you were feeling after this, having gone home?
It's definitely like a rush of emotions because it is the end of the journey, and it's I think everybody has to have a coming to peace moment of like, okay, what next? How do I feel about this? How am I going to respond to this? But honestly, I remember vividly whenever I walked out of the auditorium. I mean, the first thing you do is you walk out of the doors and they have a camera set up there, and they want your initial reaction. And I remember it pretty vividly. I was just like, Man, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. It was so much fun. Like I had a blast this whole time. Met so many great artists. I'm just ready to go home to my wife.
Oh,
And they were like, "Okay, thanks," and like pushed me over to like this other spot, and they like held me there for a little longer with like a group of other people, and I you could tell that like they were putting other like the people over there that didn't like initially like well up in tears or like you know do all the things, and so yeah, I kind of sat over there with some other folks, and then it was kind of rough, man. Like whenever some people around me, like maybe started having like an emotional experience, you'd see a camera fly out of nowhere. Um,
mm,
but anyway, I was still, I was, I had some inner. It was definitely like rough. You know, it's like the end of a journey. It's you got to go home. It's fun's over. But I don't think I wasn't like distraught. You
right.
know.
Yeah, and again, like to make it that far, especially after having tried out before, I think anytime that you do something multiple times and then make it farther, you have a real sense of accomplishment, even if you didn't go all the way, you know?
Yeah,
It sounds like the people you met, that was the best part because you made these connections and you've continued working with other artists, from the show, and that's what you continue doing once you leave American Idol.
yeah, for sure. It was great, man. Like, people asked me how American Idol was, and I said they asked me like, how was it like as a whole, and like every time I just tell them it is what you make it. Like, I know people that made it much further than me, um, but they decided, uh, that they weren't necessarily going to pursue music like in a in a more real in a more real life sense, or they just wanted to do the TV thing and that's kind of all they wanted to do. But like for somebody who's interested, this might be a good bit to share because I'll tell anybody this is like for somebody who's interested in making a career in music, if you go on American Idol and you make friends with all these other great artists and you see who's really in it for a lifetime of music and like a career in music, make friends with those people and just be honest with them and create a good relationship. And next thing you know, you're going to be, having these connections with all these artists who are like, just like you, who are chasing music in a very real and like in a very real way. That's going to be like a lasting career. And, here I am 2 years later, still writing with this awesome artist in California. Cam Allen is another awesome artist that I talk with often, like on social media and stuff. And we're championing each other. It is what you make it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you said earlier that American Idol has really done a lot for you, and it sounds like that was a perfect description of what it has done is it's allowed you to continue your career with more people by your side, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, man, for sure. I mean, like, just connecting with the other artists has been great. And then also, like, just having the badge that I was on the show, like, and being able to say that has been huge. Just for one, for my price tag, and two, for just popularity. I mean, it definitely reinvigorated some hometown support, which is always great.
It is unbelievable what being on that show can do for you without even being aired. I mean, the social media
Yeah,
promotion gets the attention of people around town, and next thing you know, you're doing other interviews, and people are talking about you without even having seen you on TV.
yeah, for sure. It's I think there's a big fandom that revolves around American Idol, period.
Hmm.
Like I think a big part of being successful and leveraging your success on American Idol is being able to retain your American Idol fans
Hmm.
whenever you move on from the show. Because I think there's a lot of fans who are very like devout to American Idol,
Yeah.
and they love the development of the story and they love the artist too, but like they're a little more interested in the show itself.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, for sure. Whether it's the artists that you've worked with because of American Idol or other songs that you've just been working on yourself or other artists you had the chance to collaborate with, I'd love to hear about what you've been up to since the show.
for sure. I mean, so since the show, I've continued to write for myself and other artists. There was an artist named Clayton Anderson. He's a country artist out of Nashville. He's with Visionary Media Group, and he cut my song that I wrote for him called Only Us. So you can go check that out on streaming platforms if you like country music. And then Timothy Brown, he cut my song, Cut Me Loose, the one that we wrote together. Amy Sunshine, she cut our song that we wrote together called Jolene. Or sorry, Josephine. I was just doing a cover of Jolene. It made me think of Josephine. Since then, I've been writing a lot, still pursuing a career in songwriting. I've released a single that was under my name called Hurts You Too. Really proud of that. And really for the past year, I've been developing this project that I'm all in with now, which is called the Band Loula. It's a Southern duo that consists of me and my friend Logan Simmons. She's awesome, and it's really something we've been friends for 10 years, and we've kind of done music over the years, but for the past year we've been developing this project, and now we're ready to run with it, and so it's exciting. Our first single comes out September 23rd.
Wow, that is exciting. I'm so glad that I've gotten to not only get to know you, Malachi, but now I have so many new songs to listen to, and hearing about the duo, hearing about your solo work and other songs that you've written. I'm just excited to keep following your journey and seeing what's next for you. Now I know that before we go, that you wanted to play something for us, and so I would love to hear about what you were thinking of playing.
I'll just play like a little snip of the song that the Alabama song, and then I'll play Sparrow. Here we go. Why, lady, why can't I leave you alone? I try, lady, try, but the feeling's too strong. You stay on my mind. I feel just like a fool. Why, lady, why can't I get over you? So that's that one. The song's called Sparrow. I wrote it in 2015. It was released 2015 with a band that I had in college named Whispering Gypsies. But here it goes. Walking around town with your head down, low, low, low. People you thought were your friends when left you alone. And all that you wanted was to be one and the same. But all that talk is way down, baby. Just fly away, 'cause you're a spell. Nobody's gonna hold you down. You are beautiful from the inside and out. You're a spell. Go ahead and fly away. When everybody starts bringing you down, just remember your name, Sparrow. Your hair ain't fake and your body ain't shaped like a model in a magazine. But nothing's wrong with no makeup on a t-shirt and blue jeans. And all that you wanted was to be one and the same. All that talk is way down low, baby. Just fly away, 'cause you're a spell. Nobody's gonna hold you down. You are beautiful from the inside and out. You're a spell. Go ahead and fly away. When everybody starts bringing you down, remember your name, spell. When you fly high. Girl, when you move, you're so smooth. Girl, when you breathe, I can't breathe. You take the breath right out of me. When you fly high. Girl, when you move, it's so smooth. Girl, when you breathe, I can't breathe. You take the breath right out of me. Spell. Nobody's gonna hold you down. You are beautiful from the inside and out. You're the Sparrow. Go ahead and fly away the day when everybody starts bringing you down. Remember your name, Sparrow. Oh, 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 Sparrow. Oh, oh.
Oh my God, dude. I can't even tell you how much I love that song. Is that released?
Yeah, it's released. It's under my old band, Whispering Gypsies.
Wow. I that song. Okay, so first of all, it's a bop, but it's also so important and meaningful. Like that's great. I mean, that's what we need. We need a song that you can groove to, but that also has such important words. And wow, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It just that reminded me of probably what I enjoy most about doing this is getting to discover new artists. And even though it's about American Idol, most importantly, it's about getting to know the people. And, you all wouldn't be doing this show if it weren't for making music. And you make amazing music. And like, I'm so glad that that's the first original song of yours that I got to hear. I can only imagine what else you've put out there and what you're going to continue to put out there because that song, Sparrow, blew me away.
Thank you, man. So glad you enjoyed it, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
I got stuff under my name, and then that song's still under an EP that was released under a band called the Whispering Gypsies, which was my band back in college. Um, so you can check that out. But more importantly, I want to plug my new band, the Band Loula, uh, a Southern duo. Our first single release is September 23rd, but we're already creating a presence online. So if you want to follow the Instagram or the TikTok, the Band Loula, Loula. Um, yeah, we're really excited for that stuff.
Cool, man. Malachi, I'm so excited for you, and I cannot wait to see where this musical journey continues to take you because it really has been a pleasure getting to know you and, getting to see what American Idol has done for you, but also just knowing that, you're going to continue to take these opportunities, whether they're working with other artists, working with your band, your duo. I mean, it really is wild. Like even just getting to sit here, watch you perform live, you and the guitar, that is really special. So to know that you're getting to work with all these other artists as well. That's so cool. I mean, it must be such a neat thing to do for a living to get to just make music and make music with other people and then share it with people.
No doubt, man. And I appreciate you having me on today.
I appreciate your time and your energy. And once again, I know you mentioned the duo, but also where can people go to follow you personally on Instagram or really any platforms online?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the major things. I guess I got the Malachi Mills pretty early, so pretty much all my social media and all that stuff is Malachi Mills, MALACHIMILLS. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all that.
Very cool. And then they got to stream everything. They got to stream the duo. They got to stream your solo stuff, the band stuff. I mean, anything, right? Just go to
Yeah,
Spotify, Apple Music, wherever.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms. I just released my personal single called "Hurts You Too." I released
Hmm.
that about a month ago. That's something I've been working on for a while. Recorded that in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. That's pretty much where I record these days. Is in a place called Ivy Manor. Shout out Ivy Manor, um, down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and yeah, all that music's out there. All the songwriter cuts and all the original music.
Well, I cannot wait to check it out. Guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you like this podcast and you haven't already subscribed, if you're on Apple or Spotify or wherever you may be listening, please do so. You can also give us a couple stars, leave a review if you'd like, and you can watch the interviews on YouTube. Just type in American Idol Unaired. Make sure you follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. And Malachi, once again, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
Yeah, man. Thank you.